Hey everyone, so this morning I was reading a new book called The Voice of Knowledge by Miguel Ruiz, he's the author of The Four Agreements. And so this book was calling out to me. It's been on my bookshelf for a number of months now, and today it called out and it delivered. So if you don't have time to watch this video right now, I highly recommend just saving this, watching it later. Because I'm going to share a story, I'm just going to read it straight from the book. Share the story that may be the most impactful story I've ever read. So again, if you don't have time to watch this right now, I highly recommend you to save this and watch it later. So if you can watch this now, get comfortable, and here we go. So the name of this passage, or this chapter, is Adam and Eve, the story from a different point of view. A beautiful and ancient legend that almost everyone had heard before is the story of Adam and Eve. It is one of my favorite stories because it explains with symbolism what I'll try to explain with words. The story of Adam and Eve is based on absolute truth, though I never understood it as a child. It is one of the greatest teachings ever. But I believe that most people misunderstand it. Now, I will tell you the story from a different point of view, perhaps the same point of view as the one who created it. The story is about you and me. It's about us. It's about all of humanity because, as you know, humanity is only one living being. Man, woman, we are only one. In this story, we call ourselves Adam and Eve, and we are the original humans. The story begins when we were innocent, before we closed our spiritual eyes, which means thousands of years ago. We used to live in paradise, in the Garden of Eden, which was heaven on earth. Heaven exists when our spiritual eyes are open. It is a place of peace and joy, freedom, and eternal love. For us, Adam and Eve, everything was about love. We loved and respected one another, and we lived in perfect harmony with all of creation. Our relationship with God, our Creator, was a perfect communion of love, which means that we communed with God all the time, and God communed with us. It was inconceivable to be afraid of God, the one who created us. Our Creator was a God of love and justice, and we put our faith and trust in God. God gave us complete freedom, and when we used our free will to love and enjoy all of creation. Life was beautiful in paradise. The original humans saw everything through the eyes of truth, the way it is, and we loved it. That is the way we used to be, and it was effortless. Well, the legend says that in the middle of paradise stood two trees. One was the tree of life, which gave life to everything in existence, and the other was the tree of death, better known as the tree of knowledge. The tree of knowledge was a beautiful tree with juicy fruit, very tempting, and God told us, don't go near the tree of knowledge. If you eat the fruit from that tree, you may die. Of course, no problem. But by nature, we love to explore. And surely we went to pay a visit to the tree. If you remember the story, you can already guess who lived in that tree. The tree of knowledge was the home of a big snake full of poison. The snake is just another symbol of what the Toltec called the parasite. And you can imagine why. The story says that the snake who lived in the tree of knowledge was a fallen angel who used to be the most beautiful one. As you know, an angel is a messenger who delivers God's message, a message of truth and love. But for who knows what reason, that fallen angel no longer delivered the truth, which means he delivered the wrong message. The fallen angel's message was fear instead of love. It was a lie instead of truth. In fact, the story describes the fallen angel as the prince of lies, which means that he was an eternal liar. Every word coming out of his mouth was a lie. According to the story, the prince of lies was living in the tree of knowledge, and the fruit of that tree, which was knowledge, was contaminated with lies. We went to that tree, we had the most incredible conversation with the prince of lies. We were innocent. We didn't know. We trusted everyone. And there was the Prince of Lies, the first storyteller, a very smart guy. Now the story gets a little bit more interesting because that snake by itself had a whole story of its own. That fallen angel talked and talked and talked, and we listened and listened and listened. And as you know, when we are children and our grandparents tell us stories, we are eager to hear everything they have to say. We learn, and it's very seductive. We want to know more. But this was the Prince of Lies talking. No doubt about it, he was lying. We were seduced by the lies. We believed the fallen angel's story, and that was our big mistake. That is what it means to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge. We agreed, and took his word as the truth. We believed the lies, and we put our faith in them. When we bit into the apple, we ate the lies that came with knowledge. What happens when we eat a lie? We believe it, and boom. Now that lie lives within us. This is easy to understand. The mind is very fertile ground for concepts, ideas, and opinions. If someone tells us a lie and we believe it, that lie takes root in our mind. There it can grow big and strong, just like a tree. One little lie can be very contagious, spreading its seeds from person to person when we share it with others. Well, the lies went into our mind and reproduced a whole tree of knowledge inside our head, which is everything that we know. But what is it that we know? Mostly lies. The tree of knowledge is a powerful symbol. The legend says that whoever eats the fruit of the tree of knowledge will have knowledge of good and evil. They will know the difference between what is right and what is wrong, what is beautiful and what is ugly. They will gather all of that knowledge and begin to judge. Well, that is what happened in our head. And the symbolism of the apple is that every concept, every lie, is just like a fruit with a seed. When we place a fruit in fertile ground, the seed of the fruit creates another tree. That tree reproduces more fruit, and by the fruit, we know the tree. Now each of us has our own tree of knowledge, which is our personal belief system. The tree of knowledge is the structure of everything we believe. Every concept, every opinion, forms a little branch of that tree, until we end up with the whole tree of knowledge. As soon as that tree is alive in our mind, we hear the fallen angel talking very loudly. The same fallen angel, the Prince of Lies, lives in our mind. From the Toltec point of view, a parasite was living in the fruit. We ate the fruit, and that parasite went inside us. Now the parasite is living our life. The storyteller, the parasite, is born inside our head. And it survives inside of our head because we feed it with our faith. The story of Adam and Eve explains how humanity fell from the dream of heaven into the dream of hell. It tells us how we became the way we are right now. The story usually says that we took just one bite of the apple, but this is not true. I think we ate all of the fruit of that tree, and we became sick from being so full of lies and emotional poison. Humans ate every concept, every opinion, and every story the liar told us, even though it was not the truth. In that moment, our spiritual eyes closed, and we could no longer see the world with the eyes of truth. We began to perceive the world in a completely different way, and everything changed for us. With the tree of knowledge in our head, we could only perceive knowledge. We could only perceive lies. We no longer lived in heaven because lies have no place in heaven. This is how the humans lost paradise. We dream lies. We create the whole dream of humanity, individually and collectively, based on this. Before humans ate the fruit of the tree of knowledge, we lived in truth. We only spoke truth. We lived in love without any fear. After we ate the fruit, we felt guilt and shame. We judged ourselves as no longer good enough, and of course we judged others the same way. With judgment came polarity, separation, and the need to punish and be punished. For the first time, we were no longer kind to one another. We no longer respected and loved all of God's creations. Now we suffered, and we began to blame ourselves, to blame other people, and even to blame God. We no longer believed that God was loving and just. We believed that God would punish and hurt us. It was a lie. It was not true, but we believed it. And we are separated from God. From this point, it is easy to understand what is meant by original sin. The original sin is not sex. No, that is another lie. The original sin is to believe the lies that come from the snake in the fallen tree, the fallen angel. The meaning of the word sin is to go against. Everything that we say, everything that we do against ourselves is a sin. To sin is not about blame or moral condemnation. To sin is to believe in lies, and to use those lies against ourselves. From that first sin, that original lie, all of our other sins are born. How many lies do you hear in your head? Who is judging? Who is talking? Who is the one with all the opinions? If you don't love, it's because that voice doesn't let you love. If you don't enjoy life, it's because that voice doesn't let you enjoy it. And not only that, the liar in our head has the need to express all those lies, to tell its story. We share the fruit of our tree with others, and because others have the same kind of liar, together our lies become more powerful. Now we can hate more. Now we can hurt more. Now we can defend our lies and become fanatics about our lies. Humans even destroy one another in the name of these lies. Who is living our life? Who is making our choices? I think the answer is obvious. Now we know what is going on in our head. The storyteller is there. It is that voice in our head. That voice is talking and talking and talking, and we are listening and believing every word. That voice never stops judging. It judges whatever we do, whatever we don't do, whatever we feel, whatever we don't feel, whether anybody else does, whatever anybody else does. It's constantly gossiping in our head, and what comes out of that voice? Lies. Mostly lies. These lies hook our attention, and all we can see are more lies. And that is the reason we don't see the reality of heaven that exists in the same place at the same time. Heaven belongs to us because we are the children of heaven. The voice in our head doesn't belong to us. When we are born, we don't have that voice. That voice in our head comes after we learn. First the language, then the different points of view, then all the judgment and lies. Even when we first learn to speak, we only speak truth. But little by little, the whole tree of knowledge is programmed into our head, and the big liar eventually takes over the dream of our life. You see, in the moment we are separated from God, we started to search for God. For the first time, we started to search for love we believed we didn't have. We started to search for justice, for beauty, for truth. The search began thousands of years ago, and humans are still searching for the paradise we lost. We are searching for the way we used to be before we believed in lies, authentic, truthful, loving, joyful. The truth is, we are searching for ourselves. You know, it was true what God told us. If we eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge, we may die. We did eat it, and we are dead. We are dead because our authentic self is no longer there. The one living our life is the big liar, the prince of lies, that voice in our head. You can call it thinking. I call it the voice of knowledge. Points to ponder. The mind is fertile ground for concepts, ideas, and opinions. If someone tells us a lie and we believe it, that lie takes root in our mind and can grow big and strong, like a tree. One little lie can be very contagious, spreading its seeds from person to person when we share it with others. Knowledge goes into our mind and reproduces a structure inside our head, which is everything that we know. With all that knowledge in our head, we only perceive what we believe. We only perceive our own knowledge. And what is it that we know? Mostly lies. Once the tree of knowledge is alive in our mind, we have the fallen angel talking very loudly. The voice never stops judging. It tells us what is right and what is wrong, what is beautiful and what is ugly. The storyteller is born inside our head and survives inside our head because we feed it with our faith. Heaven exists when our spiritual eyes are open, when we perceive the world through the eyes of truth. Our lies hook our attention, our spiritual eyes are closed. We fall from the dream of heaven and begin to live the dream of hell. Heaven belongs to us because we are the children of heaven. The voice in our head does not belong to us. When we are born, we don't have that voice. Thinking comes after we learn. First the language, then different points of view, then all the judgment and lies. The voice of knowledge comes as we accumulate knowledge. Before we eat the lies that come with knowledge, we live in truth. We speak only truth. We live in love without any fear. Once we have knowledge, we judge ourselves as no longer good enough. We feel shame, guilt, and the need to be punished. We begin to dream lies, and we separate from God. In the moment when we separate from God, we begin to search for God, for the love we believe we don't have. Humans are continually searching for justice, for beauty, for truth, for the way we used to be before we believed in lies. We are searching for our authentic self. Whew. Well, I would invite you to meditate on that story. Think deeply about that story. Think about the areas of ourselves where we've created lies, or have spread lies, or believe lies. Maybe think of areas that don't serve us. I'm trying to find the root. Is this a lie? Is this belief I have about myself or society a lie? A fruit that I've eaten, that I've chosen to put faith into, chosen to believe. This is where I invite you to just dive into all of your beliefs, your personal beliefs, the beliefs that the government has told us, that our family has told us, that education has told us. Analyze all these thoughts, all this knowledge, and find the truth. Because on our pursuit of the truth, we find out, like this story tells, a lot of what we've been consuming are lies. So thank you for listening. I would love to hear your feedback in the comment section here, so please share your takeaways from this. As I said, this was a big one for me. Something that I feel I've intuitively known, but this really brought it to the surface in a way that was very digestible, and I felt called to share it with everyone who was willing to listen. So, again, this is from the book The Voice of Knowledge, Don Miguel Ruiz. Highly recommended. Again, that's the only part I've read so far, but I plan to finish the rest of this book in the next couple days. So, thank you. Find the truth. We'll find it together. May we go in peace and love.